We are getting into chapter 8 today, and we're excited to have you with us. This chapter in Jubilees. Uh, Up front, we want to apologize if we butcher any names that are written here. There are going to be some really tough ones. If you need to, just go to Book of Jubilees, read it, look at the names if it's of interest to you. If you have any questions about anything, of course, put it in the comments below as we go along here, and we'd really like to hear what you guys have to say about some of what we're about to read today. To give a little bit of a synopsis about chapter 7 and some of what we've read that's relevant to what we're reading today, Noah landed on the top of Mount Ararat, as it's written, and eventually his sons have kind of moved into their own areas, north, east, west, kind of thing, and built up cities with their wives, and their children are with them. And Noah's kind of been in his own little space as the world has become more and more populated after the flood.
They're like running out of room.
Yeah. Well, it's true. The thing is at this point, like, we don't fully know what the land looked like at this point. All of us picture the modern day map, but we know that it wasn't always so. So what it fully looked like is going to come into play today. It's going to describe some things, and we're just going to go along with it. Try and use your mind, picture what it might look like when he describes some of this stuff. But let's get into it. And again, we are going to talk a little bit about the Watchers for a moment. They've been having a pretty good showing in the Jubilees. And I laugh because I did not know about the Watchers until I started reading.
Yeah, they like to party, that's for sure.
Apparently, they are the party animals in the earth at this time. According to what is written. So let's get into this here in the Jubilee. Who's starting off? I'm starting off?
Yeah, you're starting off.
I'll start off the read. Okay. In the 29th Jubilee, in the first week, in the beginning thereof, Arpachshad took to himself a wife, and her name was Razuasia, the daughter of Susan, the daughter of Elam, and she bare him a son in the 3rd year in this week, and he called his name Cainam. And the son grew, and his father taught him writing, and he went to seek for himself a place where he might seize for himself a city. And he found a writing which former generations had carved on the rock. And he read what was thereon, and he transcribed it and sinned owing to it, for it contained the teaching of the Watchers, in accordance with which they used to observe the omens of the sun and moon and stars and all the signs of heaven. So, couple of things.
So what does it mean by sinned owing to it?
I know, right? That was a strange phrase to me.
Seems weird to me.
Uh-huh. Unless, like, he wasn't supposed to because it was Watcher stuff. According to a search, it means that someone committed a sin because of a particular situation or action. That the circumstance caused them to act in a way. So maybe it's because it was the Watchers stuff.
Let me tell you what mine came up with.
Ooh.
And I just put in, what does sinned owing to it mean?
Uh-huh.
It says sinned owing to it is a phrase that appears in the pseudo-apocryphal Apocrypha and sacred writings in the Book of Jubilees. And I seriously, I just put that little bit in and this came up.
Yeah.
It refers to a person who sinned after reading a writing that contained the teachings of the Watchers.
Okay.
That's very specific.
That is very
but
specific.
That's what came up when I put that in.
Okay.
It's
So-
specifically the Book of Jubilees. It's specifically about the Watchers. So I don't know if that is true, but that's
Okay.
what came up on my computer.
Okay. So it's either very specific to this. It's probably where it comes from. Sin owing to it. There are phrases that we've been getting here in Jubilees that I've never heard before in like a scriptural kind of sense.
Yes, but they seem to be known, right?
Yes, but they
of course,
seem to
we're
be
not
known,
that.
which is interesting to me.
We're not that. We in the
yeah.
past haven't been that into it, right? But yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But it seems like he read it and then
I wonder
took
if he
that
then
information
acted on it.
and started to read the sun, moon, and stars like the Watchers could. Which apparently
Yeah.
seems like it was a sin because it was the Watchers stuff.
Yeah. Maybe. I don't know, unless that they were teaching them things that they were not supposed to know. I don't know.
I don't know.
It seems interesting to me that
it would be a sin.
It would be a sin to just learn something.
Yes.
So I think he must have acted on whatever he learned.
Mm-hmm.
But all they tell us is that
about
they use it to observe the omens of the sun and moon and stars in all the signs of heaven. So I'm wondering if that was like you have God's priesthood, then you have Satan's priesthood.
Right.
And maybe he's used those omens and things that are for the good, but he's twisted them and used them for the bad in the Watchers, right? I don't know.
Some part of it isn't good to call it a sin.
Yeah.
It was interesting also right before that this guy was seeking for himself a place where he might seize for himself a city. I thought that word was a strong word. He was going to seize for himself a city. Like he had these desires and he was going to get what he wanted.
Like it almost sounds like he had to take it from somebody else.
Yeah, right? Like he was going to take.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's saying something about his personality
that's
or
interesting
what on that.
Yeah.
But that's
I did not notice that, but yeah. I did not notice that, but yeah, that is interesting. It's not like just form a city or just, find a place for his city. It's seize, right?
Or create a city. It was seize.
Yeah. That's interesting.
And then the other thing here, though, too, is that they were taught writing from his father, and it's a big oral tradition. However, the Watchers wrote their information on the stone. Someone's eventually going to find it. The stone writing. So I just find that interesting that according to that, there's evidence of the Watchers' writings. On Earth. Interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder why they would do that, because most of the time, they learned writing, and we learned that came from. Oh my gosh, I want to say.
Watchers.
No. The first book of grandchild of Adam, and now I can't forget his name. Where he actually made
Seth.
Seth. There we go. Yeah, Seth. He actually made the writing. Of the times, right?
Yes, that's right.
He invented the writing language of the times. But most of the time, it was all done by oral tradition, which is interesting to me that there actually are doing some writing. When you have people from the past where all they have is things that are in oral histories, right? But yet they did both of it. So that's interesting to me.
Yeah, in fact,
Um,
the fact that they even wrote stuff down, what were they writing on? Because you have,
list
in
of
order,
stone or
well,
rock.
the Watchers wrote on the stone, but what was Seth writing stuff on? Tablets, I think they talked about stone tablets before.
They call them tablets made
Uh,
of stone, so it's
I guess
ah, rock stone. I don't know that there's a
stone
whole lot of
paper. I
difference
don't know.
other than maybe the shape. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know.
Can't be easy to write in
They're
stone.
writing on something. No, and you would best be knowing how to spell because I don't, and I had to always use my eraser. I think my eraser was always smaller than my pencil was in my life. Um, I was always, no, that's wrong, that's wrong.
Oh
Anyway,
no! Okay,
maybe
we
they
will
didn't really have
continue
a
on.
standard spelling. Anyway, okay,
All right.
4. And he wrote it down and said nothing regarding it, for he was afraid to speak to Noah about it, lest he should be angry with him on account of it. And and in the 30th Jubilee, in the second week, in the first year thereof, he took to himself a wife, and her name was Milcah, the daughter of Medea, the son of Japheth. And in the 4th year, he begat a son and called his name Shelah, for he said, I truly have been sent. And in the in the 4th year he was born, and Shula grew up and took to himself a wife, and her name was Mook, and the daughter of, okay, like we said, we're sorry, the daughter of Keshed, his father's brother, and in the 130th Jubilee, in the 4th week, in the first year thereof. Okay,
Uh-huh.
that was a lot.
That is a lot.
We went through 4 or 5 generations there.
Yeah, there were a lot of generations. This one is one of those generational, I think, sections of knowing who who was married to whom and who was whose kid. Um, the of course it just finishes up in that first little part there about this guy Caname, and he wrote those things down that he got from the Watchers stuff, and he didn't
Yeah.
say anything to Noah about it because he thought he'd be angry.
Is that not interesting in that do we not do the same thing in
Oh, we
when
still
we
do the
do
same thing.
something that we know we're not supposed to do? We
Mhm.
don't tell anybody,
Mhm.
but we know we weren't supposed to do it and we did it
Mhm.
anyway.
Mhm.
That's like a natural human trait, I believe. It doesn't mean it's
Apparently.
right. It doesn't
Nope.
mean it's right. I'm just saying it's a
Mhm.
natural human trait. These
Mhm.
were human people. I mean, they were like us, right? And they're just
Mhm.
starting the world and trying to understand everything. But he knew it was wrong. So
Mhm.
whatever it was that we don't understand, he knew it was wrong before he ever even wrote it down, before he ever even followed whatever it was, before he ever did any of that, he knew it was wrong.
Which is why
But he did
it's
it
it's
anyway.
which is probably why it's called he sinned owing to it,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because he knew it was wrong and he was pretty sure no one wouldn't like it, but he did it anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that's the best description of sin
Mm-hmm.
right there.
Because it's
Way to
not
go.
sin by omission.
No, uh-uh. Mm-mm.
It's sin. You know,
It's sin.
he
We know.
knew enough that he knew he wasn't going to tell great grandpa.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I'm just keeping my mouth shut.
I think that's interesting. Okay. Everything else is genealogy. I don't think we can take
Yep.
anything else. We can dissect anything
Right.
else from that.
Um, so in 7 here, and she bare him a son in the 5th year thereof, and he called his name Eber, and he took unto himself a wife, and her name was Azarad, the daughter of Nebrod, in the 32nd Jubilee, in the 7th week in the 3rd year thereof. And in the 6th year thereof, she bare him son, and he called his name Peleg. For in the days when he was born, the children of Noah began to divide the earth amongst themselves. For this reason, he called his name Peleg. And they divided it secretly amongst themselves and told it to Noah. That's all of it, right? 7 to 8, 9.
Mm-hmm.
So they began to divide the earth amongst themselves. But it says, and they divided it secretly. I don't know why it has to be a secret, but they felt it needed to be a secret.
Yeah, that seems really interesting to me. That let's not tell great grandpa or whatever it is.
Everyone's having that reaction.
Okay.
Don't tell Noah.
Yeah, like let's keep Noah in the dark, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so that was interesting to me that they said that they were dividing, and so that's why they called the guy Peleg. So I said, what does Peleg mean? And it says in Hebrew, the name means division or small water stream.
Oh.
It is a masculine name that is sometimes used as a surname.
Oh.
So that's interesting.
So they named him because that's what was going on at the time.
That was what was happening.
It was during the time of dividing. Okay.
Yeah, the time of division. So yeah. Okay. 10. And it came to pass in the beginning of the 33rd Jubilee that they divided the earth into 3 parts, for Shem, Ham, and Japheth, according to the inheritance of each. In the first year, in the first week, when one of us who had been sent was with them. So is that a watcher?
I don't know.
No. Okay, no, one who has been sent. That must be from God, though. He'd been sent to help him distribute. And he called his sons, and they drew nigh to him. And they and their children, and he divided the earth into the lots, which his 3 sons were to take in possession. And they reached forth their hands and took the writing out of the bosom of Noah their father. And there came forth on the writing as Sham's lot the middle of the earth, which he should take as an inheritance for himself, and for his sons for the generations of eternity, from the middle of the mountain range of Rapha, from the mouth of the water, from the river Tina. And his portion goes towards the west through the midst of this river, and it extends until it reaches the water of the abysses, out of which this water goes forth and pours its water into the sea Ma'at, and this river flows into the great sea. And all that is towards the north is Japheth, and all that is towards the south belongs to Shem. Okay, so I guess we kind of are seeing a little bit of an explanation of maybe how the earth was.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard rumor that at the very beginning the earth was one piece. It was not divided.
Correct. The land was completely together. Mm-hmm.
Right. And so seems like we're like right in the middle of the land is Shem's.
Mm-hmm. I'm just looking up really quick.
Ham hasn't gotten anything yet.
Not yet. I was just looking up
Shem and Japheth.
Looking up Rapha to see if it actually
the range of Rapha, so it must be a mountain range.
Yeah, so apparently it in some ancient writings, I'm looking to make sure it's the kind of in the far north. So it
Okay.
actually kind of it wasn't it they're not specific here about being able to identify actually Rafa as a place, but
Okay.
according to this, it was a mountain range that
Okay.
kind of, I guess, kind of like today when we separate out states in the US and stuff, we actually do it a lot of times along topographical features, like a mountain range is the dividing line
Yeah.
and a
Uh,
river and stuff like that.
a long time ago they did that. Now we don't
Mhm.
do it so much, but they used to a long
Yeah.
time ago.
Now that we
Yeah.
just do our little GPS coordinates, but they used to
Yeah.
say to that river, to that, and those were the boundaries. So,
Does it say where River Tina is?
no, it did not. But I love that the name of it. Like, you don't. I was a little taken back, like River Tina.
Yeah. It's like I love how some of the names are so freaking hard to pronounce, and then
Mhm.
one is like Tina.
Yeah, and Susan.
Okay, now I don't know if that this is the same one, but there is a River Tina.
Yes, I
It's
did find that.
located in central Guadalcanal by
Mhm.
Solomon's Island.
Mhm.
Okay,
Interesting that there is a
I
River
don't know if that's
Tina
the same one. There is a River
located.
Tina.
Mm, yeah. Okay, so there is one on Earth, but that doesn't mean it's the same River Tina, people.
Yeah, we don't know that it was, but
So,
it's like in South Africa.
mm, mm,
Well, there's one called the Tina River in South Africa.
yes.
Is that the
Hmm.
same one? Yeah. Hmm. Okay, that's interesting. Okay.
Okay, so I think it's interesting that, and they divided it secretly amongst themselves and told it to Noah, is what we get. But then it says that they took the writing out of the bosom of Noah, their father.
Hmm.
Um, doesn't that mean it wasn't secret and then they told Noah that to Noah was a part of it? I'm feeling confused. Does that make sense? Or am I
Yeah,
just
I'm rereading it here just a
uh-huh.
second. Divided earth into the lots, which is three sons. Oh, I wondered if it was on writing that he kept on his person. Because it says that he divided the earth into the lots,
Yeah, but
which
that
his
seemed
three sons were to take in possession, right? And
mm-hmm.
they reached forth their hands and took the writing out of the bosom of their father Noah. And then they decided what they wanted to do with it. He'd already kind of divided stuff up, it seems like,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
then they decided to do what they wanted. So I think he might have had it written like in his pocket, so to speak, in his jacket or whatever. So they took it out of his coat,
Oh.
out of his bosom, and
Uh-huh.
they wrote what they wanted on it and said, "Nope, this is the way it's going to be, Dad." That's
Well,
what it
that would
seems
be
like to me.
secret. Well, and this person who's here, when one of us who had been sent was with them, that could
Yeah,
just be that they were recording it from heaven of what was going to be happening.
yeah, true.
Okay. All right, this makes a little more
So
sense.
that's what it seems like to me. That's what it
Okay.
seems like to me.
Okay. So 13.
Yes, go ahead.
And it extends till it reaches Carousel. This is in the bosom of the tongue which looks towards the south. And his portion extends along the Great Sea, and it extends in a straight line till it reaches the west of the tongue, which looks towards the south. For this sea is named the tongue of the Egyptian Sea. And it turns from here towards the south,
That's
towards the mouth
interesting.
of the Great Sea on the shore of its waters. And it extends to the west to Afra, and it extends till it reaches the waters of the river Gaian, and to the south of the waters of Gaian to the banks of this river. And so that refers to
refers to?
Whose land? I guess it's Shem's.
Yeah. No, I think that's Japheth. I don't
Epic.
think we've come to.
Sorry.
I
And
don't-
all that is
Because
towards
the one before, the one before they were explaining Shem's, I think.
the
And this
middle,
was more the detail of
the
Japheth's,
south
I
of Japheth.
think.
Mm-hmm.
Let's
Okay.
see. Let me see. I'm looking something up here. But I don't write as fast as you do.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to know where the tongue of the Egyptian sea is.
Ah.
It's a bay or gulf in the Red Sea, specifically the northern part near Egypt. It's also called the Hieropolite Gulf. Okay.
And by the way, the tongue of a river is in a river, it's the region of smooth water. It kind of forms a V, but it's a region of smooth water there.
Okay. Well, that kind of makes sense because we kind of think of our tongues in a V shape.
Yeah, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of that spot in the river. Okay, so it goes to the tongue of that river where it's smooth and obviously different than a tumultuous running river, than rapids or something. Just trying to throw in information.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've never heard of anything called the tongue of the Egyptian sea. I've never heard that before.
I know, and maybe it is really only referenced here. I mean, the world, see, this is the part that I think is so hard for a lot of people to understand when we're reading Apocrypha stuff about the beginning of the world, is that we know over time, and there have been cataclysmic events that have shaped the earth. And we know that when Christ was born, that there were groanings and earthquakes all over the place, and valleys were made high and mountains were made low, and things changed a ton. And so I think it's hard to understand when they're talking geographic locations. We wanted to represent a specific spot on the earth right now to get an understanding. And yet we can't, but we can understand there are rivers. And is there some place, I think it's interesting, is there some place on earth right now that might still have that name? And how long has it had that name? Like, kind of thing, because old things have stayed in a lot of places.
Yeah. They say that this has been referenced in Isaiah, the terminology tongue of the Egyptian sea. It's in Isaiah 11:15. And so it is that narrow inlet, not turbulent place of the Red Sea is what they think it is. But it is used in Isaiah, it says.
And Isaiah, the prophet Isaiah, lived in about the 8th century, in the 700s, 700 BCs.
Yeah.
So.
And Isaiah was before Christ was crucified. So the land could have looked the same than what we are talking about right now. So anyway, that's interesting. Okay. We're on 16, right?
Yes.
Okay. It says, and it extends towards the east till it reaches the Garden of Eden. Hey, they still knew where that was.
Yes,
to the south thereof, and from the east of the whole land of Eden, and of the whole east it turns to the east, and proceeds till it reaches the east of the mountain named Rapha, and it descends to the bank of the mouth of the river Tina. This portion came forth by lot for Shem and his sons, that they should possess it forever unto his generations forevermore. And Noah rejoiced that this portion came forth for Shem and for his sons, and remembered all that he had spoken with his mouth in prophecy. For he had said, Blessed be the Lord God of Shem, and may the Lord dwell in the dwelling of Shem. Okay.
So he was happy that his son Shem got that portion that encompassed
Got the Garden of
Eden.
Eden. Mm-hmm.
And I think it's interesting. I think it's just interesting here that the Garden of Eden is considered like the land of Eden. It wasn't just like a spot, but a whole land.
Yeah, it was a big plot,
A big
so to
place.
speak.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's interesting that they still know where the Garden of Eden is.
Even after the flood.
Even after the flood.
Mm-hmm.
Which tells me that my view of what was happening with Noah was wrong. Because here's my thought, because I'm still a kid. The earth gets covered. The ark comes off the ground and floats around. Okay, now because I'm thinking the earth is the way it is now, I'm like, okay, they're over in this continent, they landed in this continent. Well, the continents were supposedly together, that's our assumption. So it kind of sounds like he just kind of went up and then came back down, because they're not far from the Garden of Eden.
Right. They know where it is.
It doesn't sound like they floated around much at all.
That makes me wonder if God made.
It makes me wonder if God didn't let the waters move very much, right?
Well, I think in my mind, I always picture like the waters are rising, storms are around, we've got crazy, tumultuous weather, and you have this ark upon the waters going all over the world for quite a while. And then as the waters recede and everything calms down, as the waters descend, it's stuck on a mountain. But it doesn't sound like it went very far, because apparently they knew that mountain and they knew the land round about, or at least went out and discovered the land round about. Like, I do, now that you mention it, think that's interesting how it's written.
Yeah, because it's like they knew where it was, and they still knew. So I don't know. The way it sounds to me is that they really didn't go very far.
Okay.
But I know we're looking at the world the way it is now, kind of, right? And so, like you said, it's floating all over the world. But how do we know that it wasn't just all contained in one place? It wasn't like all over, right? We don't know how much was all over, right? Anyway, there you go. Little speculation.
Okay, and I'm going to say this. And I'm going into the weeds a little, and it's a little gross, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Okay.
There were a lot of people on the earth when the flood happened. When the waters descended, where did all those bodies go?
Maybe they went with the water.
Back into the earth? All right.
With the water.
I don't know. I just was like, would there just have been tons of bodies all over the earth? Like, that's just weird to me.
Assumption.
I don't know. I've never asked the question before. What happened to all those people?
Well, I've never thought about it till you just said it, but it does make sense that there had to be some type of a vortex to bring that water back.
To bring all the water back into the earth.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if
some of them went there.
Some of them went there. I mean, it's obvious some of them had to have. It just had to have. Unless there's like a grate in front of the mouth of where the water goes in that keeps them from coming out, right? I mean,
I guess.
But I've
never thought about it before. When, like, he lands and, like, I mean, we're taught. Well, but
It
then
wasn't
again,
like he
we're
said he came
talking
out of the ark and had to
here.
kick the bodies out of the way. He
No,
didn't
but
say
think
anything
about
like
it.
that.
But now that I'm
So
thinking about it, it was at least what they were in that boat for a year, or at
5
least what was
months.
it? 5 months? Okay,
It was 5 months we calculated.
I've watched enough true crime shows to know that a body sitting in water for 5 months is kind of gooey.
Just a little bit. That's what I'm saying. I think it went with the water.
Okay. See, reading
I
the
don't know.
Apocrypha here, I'm coming up with questions I've never asked before.
I know my list is getting longer
I know. I get
of questions.
Heavenly Father, I've got this list of questions.
But
roll.
maybe when we get on the other side, we'll just be able to see what happened. Maybe we don't have to ask
and
the
I'll be
question.
like, that makes so much sense.
Oh, that was
Okay.
a great job, God. Thank you.
Nice.
for
Way to
sharing that with me.
go.
I don't know. Anyway, yeah, those are questions
I went into the weeds and I'll come back out.
we always go into the weeds. It's our
Okay.
favorite place to hang out.
It is. So 19. And he knew that the Garden of Eden is the Holy of Holies, and the dwelling of the Lord, and Mount Sinai the center of the desert, and Mount Zion the center of the navel of the earth. These three were created as holy places facing each other. And he blessed the God of gods, who had put the word of the Lord into his mouth, and the Lord forevermore. And he knew that a blessed portion and a blessing had come to Shem and his sons unto the generations forever, the whole land of Eden, and the whole land of the Red Sea, and the whole land of the east, and India, and on the Red Sea and the mountains thereof, and all the land of Bashan, and all the land of Lebanon, and the islands of Kaphtor, and all the mountains of Sinai Amana, and the mountains of Asher in the north, and all the land of Elam, Asher, and Babel, and Susan, and Medea, and all the mountains of Ararat, and all the region beyond the sea, which is beyond the mountains of Asher towards the north, a blessed and spacious land, and all that is in it is very good. All right. Okay.
So Shem got a lot.
Shem did get a lot.
Or they just have a lot of names. They just have a lot of names of things in the area that Shem got. I don't know which one it would be.
Right. But that is interesting that the Garden of Eden, Mount Sinai, and Mount Zion are holy places facing each other. That's kind of cool because that makes a triangle.
It's interesting that Mount Zion is the center of the navel
of the earth, right?
Do we know what Mount Zion is? Wasn't there one we're not sure?
Yeah, I'm looking up Mount Zion. Oh,
there was one.
Is a hill in Jerusalem, Israel, located outside the old city south wall. It's near the Armenian quarter and the Zion Gate.
Okay, if that's still the same one. You have that. Then you have Garden of Eden, which we have been told is on the American continent. And then you have Mount Sinai. That really, I don't think it's very far from Mount Zion.
Yeah, so
it's in that area. I think it's in that area.
Mount Sinai, right?
Mount Sinai. Sinai.
Yep. It's saying that it's on the Sinai Peninsula, and I don't know where the Sinai Peninsula is according to Jerusalem. I'm going to look up. Of course, there's a map.
Okay, it says here, Mount Sinai and Mount Zion are approximately 240 miles apart.
Okay, Mount
with the
Zion.
distance between them being considered a roughly 2-week walking journey through and largely barren landscape.
Interesting, because now remember, at this time, the lands might not have been as separated, because we have been told that the Garden of Eden was its place and location was
is in the
Americas.
Mm-hmm.
But if you put it back together, you can see that puzzle shape.
Well, yeah, because I think that if the land is still the same and not some lower than others, and they come close enough together, that makes total sense.
So I'm looking here. Where is it? So Mount Sinai is, I think the Sinai Peninsula is that kind of section, like Egypt and Israel are kind of in that V there towards the Africa and the Middle East, that little section. That's the Sinai Peninsula. So it has Egypt in it. So it makes sense, the Egyptian Sea kind of thing.
Yeah.
Interesting, though. But I like that naval reference. Like, it's in the center of the earth. Mm-hmm.
They're like right, I mean, Mount Sinai is closer to the Mount of Moses, which is Jebels.
Do you have a picture?
Uh-huh.
Do you want to share the screen?
Sure. Let's see. Doop, 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 doop. I gotta go back to here. Got to remember how we do this.
The bottom present.
Mm-hmm. There we go. Okay. Oh, wait. Okay, yeah, this is what I want to share. Okay, so this is Mount Zion up by Jerusalem.
Oh, the flag up there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this flag right up in here. Maybe you can't see me because
I can.
Cursor? Okay. Mm-hmm. And then Mount Zion's down here. And this is the Mount of Moses. So they're like right across from each other.
Yep.
So I'm wondering if Garden of Eden was like right over here.
Yeah, right.
They made like a triangle.
Well, if we do a little map of the earth, our little standard here. Interesting. Here, I'll put up my my map here, and you can easily see slides and PDFs. I'm hoping you can. Oh, it's not letting me show that. Dagnabbit.
Oh, do I have to let you?
Yes, you do. I was like, something's happening there. Okay, is yours off? There it is. All right. Nope, I just want to. I'm still learning some of this. Share screen.
Can you do it yet?
Mm-hmm. So, here we go. I'll click on this guy here.
There we go. Is this the one?
Yeah, it will come up in a second. So, look here, because the peninsula, the little area we're talking about, if you can see my cursor, right, is right here. But
no, we can't see your cursor, but right here.
Can you not see my cursor? The little guy dancing? Okay. So if you look over in Africa, that part connected to the purple of Asia, that little part that's connecting them in the Mediterranean is the peninsula.
Oh, okay.
And so look how North America and South America, the Atlantic Ocean, if you push them back
Push it
together,
together.
that would be not like I could see that.
It would be that triangle, like I said.
It would be that triangle. It actually would be that triangle.
Yeah.
So I think that is very interesting.
Yeah, I like that. It
fits.
explains some things, right?
And the other thing it explains is it said that the one mount is the navel, and if you look at it, it is kind of in the center. Like if you were to take the globe, it is kind of like almost in that equator space of like, because your navel is in the center, pretty much in the center of your body, where so much is born. So anyway, interesting stuff there.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
And I love too that in the land of Elam and Asher and Babel and Susan.
I know. I think it's so funny.
That name is killing me right now.
You know, it's just like it just pops up. You got all these fancy names, and then all of a sudden, Susan. Tina.
Go Susan. I know Susan and Tina.
It's just like it's like okay. There's all these names. All right. Now we gotta find out if Ham gets anything, because Noah's mad at Ham. So let's see if Ham gets much. Okay, 22. And for Ham came forth the second portion beyond the Gihon towards the south to the right of the garden, and it extends towards the south, and it extends to all the mountains of fire, and it extends towards the west of the sea of Atel, and it extends towards the west till it reaches the sea of Mauk, that sea into which everything which is not destroyed descends.
Ooh.
And it goes forth towards the north to the limits of Gadir, and it goes forth to the coast of the waters of the sea, to the waters of the great sea, till it draws near to the river Gihon, and goes along the river Gihon till it reaches the right of the Garden of Eden. And this is the land which came forth for Ham as the portion which he was to occupy forever for himself and his sons unto their generations forever. Okay, that didn't sound very big.
It didn't sound very big.
It may be. I'm not saying it's not, but I'm just saying it sure doesn't sound very big.
But it involves what? How was it worded? The mountains of fire.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, so did he get like Alaska? Well, because technically we have that space called the Ring of Fire, right? In the Pacific.
Yeah.
It's a ton of volcanoes, a ton of like Hawaii and over in Japan and all of our stuff. I'm like, oh, he got the exciting lava land.
Yeah.
It is interesting though that so many of these locations are being described as where they are in accordance to where the Garden of Eden is.
Yes. Okay, so I put in was the mountains of fire, and all I'm getting. Oh wait.
Oh, okay, Myrna.
They're saying that the Mount of Fire could possibly be the true Mount Zion. Mount Zion. Zion, yeah. No, not Zion.
Think about
Sinai, excuse me.
Oh, a Mount
The real Sinai. Mount Sinai.
Well, because they don't believe that it's the current one is the real one. But listen to this, Myrna.
Correct.
If the knowledge we have is that the Garden of Eden is located basically in North America, and it says that it extends towards the west. If you go west from there, west, it does go to that fire, that ring of fire area. I mean, we have all of those volcanoes, Yellowstone, and all of that over that way.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
well, that's another thing they were talking about. They were calling them. They were mountains that were volcanoes. Are they're
mm-hmm,
encompassed into mountains of fire is what they're
mm-hmm,
also called.
mm-hmm. So we have a lot of that direction in the U.S.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
mm-hmm. Yeah,
I'm thinking, interestingly, that fits the
so
information
we're
we have.
so we live in Ham's neck of the woods.
Oh yeah, we live in
So
Ham's
we
neck
live
of
in
the woods.
Ham's neck of the woods.
Yeah, I'm gonna say we need to move to Shem's.
Either that or we spend our time helping make the generations of Ham's family more righteous. Maybe that's what we do.
Oh, okay, maybe that's what we're doing.
We don't run out, but we help.
No, we
to
help
make them
okay.
better people. Not that we're good people, but we try.
There we
right?
are. We try. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we live where Ham is. Okay.
Okay, I like it.
That doesn't bother me.
That doesn't bother me at all.
Ham's Club.
That's fine. That's his portion of the earth. So 25.
I think I would be friends with Ham.
Hey, we love everyone and are friends to all.
I don't know. But all is kind of.
All I want to do is ask someone about the Watchers. That's all I want to do.
Oh, I know. I really want some. Okay, I want more answers about the Watchers. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, 25. And for Japheth came forth the third portion beyond the river Tina to the north of the outflow of its waters, and it extends northeasterly to the whole region of Gog, and to all the country east thereof. And it extends northerly to the north, and it extends to the mountains of Kelt, towards the north, and towards the sea of Ma'uk, and it goes forth to the east of Gedir, as far as the region of the waters of the sea. And it extends until it approaches the west of Farah, and it returns towards Apharag, and it extends easterly to the waters of the sea of Miat. His sounds bigger than Ham's.
Yeah. Yeah. What I think is interesting is I went back because I said I thought we already knew where Japheth was getting his stuff. But if you go back to 12, we find out what Ham gets and we find out what Japheth gets. But there's no explanation of what it's like
Ham.
Shem got
the middle.
The middle, and then Japheth got the north. Okay. But no one said anything about Ham until later. So I thought, well, what do you mean? We already talked about Japheth, but it's like they got more. And that's why we have to explain it more in depth. Because it's not like they said Shem gets this, Japheth gets this, and then and then Ham gets this, and then they go in and explain the more defined.
Right.
They didn't do that. They said Shem gets this and Japheth gets this, and then they went in and explained in detail, defining in detail what Shem got, and then they threw in a little bit about Ham, and then they go into more detail about Japheth. It's like no wonder Ham left the family.
I'm gonna say it. That's why he feels like he's the black sheep of the family.
Well, I'm right with him. That's very interesting.
Okay.
To me, but yeah, okay.
28.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. We're still going on with Japheth. See, Japheth still gets more.
I know.
And it extends to the region of the river Tina in a northeasterly direction until it approaches the boundaries of its waters towards the Mount Rapha. And it turns around towards the north. This is the land which came forth for Japheth and his sons as the portion of his inheritance, which he should possess for himself and his sons for their generations forever. 5 great islands and a great land in the north. But it is cold, and the land of Ham is hot, and the land of Shem is neither hot nor cold, but it is of blended cold and heat.
That was surprising.
Okay, I can't overlook. I can't overlook that we always talk about hell being what? Hot. Shem got hot. I don't know. Maybe it's just,
Maybe this is where it comes from. Maybe where that concept of hell being hot.
Well, I think it's come from the scriptures always saying you're going to be burned in hell.
Yeah,
that's where I think it comes from.
But
it doesn't. It doesn't
help Ham here.
I don't overlook the fact that Ham got hot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Japheth got cold. And Shem got not hot or cold. He's okay. He's comfortable. He's comfortable.
He's comfortable. Mm-hmm.
So Shem, the good one's comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Japheth is on the cold side, but he can put clothes on and stay warm.
Yep, he can. Mm-hmm.
And then Ham's hot, and you can only take off so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he's uncomfortable all the time. I don't know.
Wow.
It doesn't. I do see it. I do see it.
Well, the thing here too that's been repeated though over and over is that the 3 of them will possess this for their generations forevermore.
Yeah.
So technically those lands are theirs forever.
So answer me this question, because this popped into my head. Because it does say that forever and ever. There's not an end to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when the second coming comes, and we are settling ourselves, kind of like Hogwarts, do we go to our houses?
Yeah, that is a good question. Because a lot in the scriptures, especially in the Old Testament, you have this returning to your lands, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. To be with your people that you are blood
or to pay
related.
your taxes or
to
whatever,
pay your taxes, right? Or
you always go back to your motherland.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised because technically you can show generationally those connections.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. For you to have existed, there had to be 2 people, a man and a woman who got together and had a baby.
Yeah. Because I know someone.
Show that back.
Mm-hmm. I know someone who has done their genealogy all the way back to, I want to say Noah, but I could be wrong. But that there's no.
Well, if you get to Noah, you can get to Adam.
I
guess.
We
read that genealogy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that I don't know. He's done a lot, but I could be wrong.
I have a family line that goes to Adam.
I don't know. I think mine's trying to decide whether we're with Ham or not. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I don't know. I think it's really interesting. That they felt the need to divide, right? Because up until now, we haven't. Up until now, we've been living in everybody together type thing. Right? And we know that in at least in the Book of Mormon, we are told that that is kind of the downfall of people is when they divide, when
Yeah.
they, you know, I, I'm, you know, a Levite or I'm a
Yeah.
whatever, right? When you separate yourself and say, this is me, and that's why our prophet has asked us to not pick labels up other than the
Right.
label of being a child of God. Because when you separate yourself like that, then it's harder to come together on anything, right? Because you have put in boundaries. Not
Right.
because the boundaries are there, it's because you've put them in because you've made a choice that this is what I am, so I'm going to adhere to this, right? But when you're a child of God, you don't have those boundaries and you're able to at least work things out with people
Right.
that maybe you don't necessarily get along with as well. But you haven't put a hard barrier between you
Right.
and made it hard to get along, right?
Right. Well, it's interesting that previously in the reading, they separated themselves off.
Well, they moved
Ham
away from each
moved
other, but
away from each other to kind
yeah,
of have their own cities.
yeah, they could. I think it was more to have some elbow room,
Yeah, to
so to
have
speak,
some like
right? Now, Dad is actually separating them out,
to
right?
say,
And
okay,
they're pushing them
this
away from each other rather than helping them to stay together. And that I think it right there is like the beginning of the contention that can occur now in humankind because we're not staying and working things out.
right.
Does that make sense?
Yes. Or is this somewhat Noah saying, I have a 40-year-old son and he's not living in my basement no more?
Well, that would only be Shem, right? The others already left.
Yeah. Shem, you gotta go, man. You gotta go.
You gotta go. You're just like a little far off from me. You gotta go farther, buddy.
I'll just okay.
I
So
don't
there are
know.
no arguments, though. I will tell you where each of you are living.
Yeah, but they didn't like that,
No.
so they stole it from him and rewrote it. But I
So,
love that they thought they needed to write it down. Why do you think they thought they needed to write it down?
oh, good question.
I think it's so there's no disputations among us.
Yes, so that it is known.
Mm-hmm.
That is the essence of writing, so that it could be nothing can
Known
be
from
nothing's
generation to
fully
generation.
mistaken. It's known generation to generation. That's one of the beautiful things about the Jewish tradition of writing the Torah is it has to be exact. If
Mm-hmm.
there's a mistake, you have to get rid of it and you go until it is exact because
Yeah.
those words were so important to be the exact same generation to generation.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
impressive stuff.
It's interesting. I love that we thought this was going to be a boring chapter.
Yes.
And I don't think it really got to be as boring as we thought it was going to be.
No,
I
talking
think
generations and locations, like interesting
we
stuff.
had questions, and
We
that's
did.
good. It's good. We broadened it out, and
Yes. Okay.
I love that. All right.
All right. So we have read chapter 8 here. We hope you enjoyed this. It seemed at first it might be a little not as exciting, but we ended up coming up with a lot of questions and wanting to see maps and understanding. If anyone has any questions or they have more information to give us that we aren't aware of, because we are not biblical scholars here, we are just avid learners and we love to hear from people. So please comment and like and subscribe and all of those things. so that our content is coming towards you as we put new videos out. We're so happy to have you with us, and thank you guys. And as always, Apocryphal rules.
Yep. All right,
Yeah.
thanks.
Hey, thanks, bye.